Um, No Justice is a interesting play in that I feel like we are the vehicles telling the story, and we are the vehicles telling the story of many, many, many people. So this story, you'll hear other stories interwoven into it. By training, I'm a clinical psychotherapist in the city of Chicago. And some of these are experiences that I've heard from my clients, from my friends, from family, and as well as they're rich with personal stories that Kenisha has brought in from her personal experiences and her family, her relationships as well. So it's a really interesting marriage of all of those narratives together. And we were definitely inspired. A big catalyst was George Floyd's shooting, or his murder, and the shootings in Chicago in particular. They are at the heart of this, and they are voices that are still needing to be elevated, and stories that continue to be in need of being told. So there's that underneath it, as well as it was written during COVID, and it highlights the impact of COVID as well in the dynamics of trying to take care of family and sort out who we are. I think we've all had those moments during COVID where we sat back, we're like, wow, okay, we kind of sit in it, and a lot hits us, and we're processing a lot during these last couple of years. So all of that was influential in crafting the narrative behind No Justice, who is a law student who goes to seek therapy virtually, and there are no Black therapists, and she wonders if this white therapist is going to be able to understand her narrative. And we see the rich inner relationship emerge between the two of them.
Yeah, it's just it really is a interwoven, as like Dana said, of different stories. Some are very, very personal to myself. There's this one piece that's actually a letter given to me when I went to college from my mother. So we like use elements of, very something that's very personal to myself, personal to Dana, to make a beautiful story about two different women coming from two different worlds, two different generations as well, if you think about it. Speaking about a difficult topic regarding the race and COVID and just all the things that was going on during that time. Well, it was, still kind of going on, right? We're still in COVID, but the height of COVID, right? So yeah, it's just that's where it came from. We were inspired from COVID, the Black Lives Movement, and just each other's personal stories. So
I think that the thing I love most about my play is that it's accurate. At least for me, as a teenage girl auditioning for roles, I have yet to encounter a teenage girl role that I liked. Every time I read for a teenage girl role, I can either tell that it was written by a man or that it was written by an adult in general who doesn't understand the teenage experience. And so when writing the show, I wanted it to be accurate. I wanted it to be realistic, the way that teenagers talk, the things they feel, the things they go through on a daily basis. And I think that that's what kind of sets it apart maybe from some other shows is my perspective as a 16-year-old and having that kind of youthful narrative on the piece itself.
I would love them to talk about, it is a difficult piece regarding like race, classism. It's just a lot of difficult pieces, difficult topics, right? But at the end of the day, we really wanted to just show the humanity of both women. And we want people essentially to leave the piece talking about, wow, there still are women that learned how to understand each other's differences, and appreciate each other within a short period of time. It's all about that relationship. Because I mean, that's how it was when I was in college. I had friends who didn't necessarily understand all the things that I would go through at times, but we still loved each other. We still had that relationship because, we were women. We understood each other. So at the end of the day, I would love them to just walk away saying, hey, it's okay to have differences, but at the end of the day, we are women. We support each other, regardless of what nationality, race, culture, whatever, right? That's for me. It was
Yeah.
supposed to be us both, but yeah, for me, that would be
No,
what, yeah.
I think that's absolutely beautiful, Kenisha, and I completely concur on that. I would love for people to feel like, since we said all the things, like we say the things that people definitely don't always open up and talk about when it comes to race, especially. And I feel like because we said it, maybe that opens other people up to say it too, and explore their sense of privilege, explore the fact that there are so many pieces of humanity that tie us together, and it's okay that there's differences too. And those differences, whether they're cultural or classist or whatever it may be that is different, that we can find a respectful common ground, but we should never ignore where we've come from and who we are. And I think that's a big piece of it too, is to try to understand each other's worldviews and perspectives. And it's okay to say, I don't understand, or I don't know, please tell me more, instead of assuming that we know someone else's experience.
Well, I would consider myself a novice playwright, so this is a difficult question for me to answer. This is the first show that I have ever written, and I guess the only words of wisdom I can give are just to not doubt yourself. I feel like oftentimes we kind of look at something and we say to ourselves, gosh, I wish I could do that. I can't though. But we don't really think of the reason why we can't. We just think, that's someone else's job. I can't do that. That's not a role for me. And that causes us to kind of hold ourselves back from our full potential. So I guess if you are a novice playwright who wants to write something, the best advice I can give you is to go for it and, to follow whatever that little spark of inspiration is.
Maggie, you can go first. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Maggie too.
Okay. I think that having a festival that is just for women is unbelievably important because, quite frankly, oftentimes men can, how do I say this nicely? Oftentimes men can misconstrue the meaning of being a woman or womanhood in general. A lot of times men write something and inaccurately portray a woman's experience. And I think that having a festival that is strictly by women really amplifies everything about womanhood and femininity in general. Just kind of, it really gives a voice to the issues and the problems that women face.
Yeah, I love that answer, Maggie. And I love that it's coming from your generation as well, because I guess our biggest hope is that we continue to elevate the voice of women so that Maggie and others can feel their place at the table too. And we're making room for that because we need to have those perspectives heard. The only way to have a rich culture and understanding of humanity is that all of us need to be represented, and we have been historically marginalized, especially within the arts, and it's no longer acceptable. And places like Power Stories are definitely elevating the voice and creating room to hear the narratives that are so important. And like you had said before, Maggie, it's time, it's enough us playing roles that have been written by people who don't identify in the ways that we do. We have a voice, we can tell our own stories, and it's time for us to do that. So I just love that this festival is focused on women playwrights and narratives.
Yeah, so pretty much Maggie and Dana pretty much said it all. It's really important for us as women to tell our stories, just because like Maggie said, men have a tendency to tell what they want to tell, right? And it's not what is actually going on within a woman voice in a woman's body. So that is so, so important. And the fact that this festival is so amazing is that right here we have so many different generations of women. We all have different stories based on that. Maggie comes from a different generation. I think Dana and I are similar, but I'm not quite sure. I never really asked. But yeah, it's a similar generation. But it's really great to see that, and that's important to see how womanhood has changed over the generations. So that's why it's important. It's important for us to tell our stories. It's important for us to be the ones that own it. And it's time as women to continue to uplift our own voices. So let's go. Y'all better be ready. That's just me being silly, but yeah, absolutely. Yes, they need to be ready to see how wonderful these women playwrights are, how great we are, how we're going to tell these wonderful stories. And you better be ready. That's simplicity at its best.
I agree. I completely concur. I hope that you all see parts of yourself. I hope that it elevates you to find the power within your own narrative. I hope that you tell others about it. And I hope that you continue to find the work of female writers and actors and producers and continue to support them and lift up their voices as well, long after Power Stories.
Basically exactly what Kenisha and Dana said. I hope that every play has a different meaning to the audience. I hope that they find things that are comical. I hope they find things that tear them apart inside. I hope they find things that are relatable, and I hope they're ready for a wide range of emotions and a wide range of voices and narratives from women.